I couldn't do a successful show just by myself. I need to have my ideas bounced. And it seems like you like to take the interview role and you like to poke the bear and figure out the different angles to look at things. And that's really, really helpful when you're trying to tap into my mind.
I can listen to people that do it somewhat naturally. There's the obvious questions that have to be asked, and then there's just always that one that's kind of a fun twist to it. I wouldn't even have thought to ask that.
Yeah.
And I think that makes it a little more interesting because a lot of times you can listen to someone having a conversation with somebody else. And this is mostly with sports. You can sum up every sports conversation between an interviewer and the player. That play in the third quarter, you did so great. How did this happen? And then all they do is they thank their team, thank their support structure, and that they had a good game plan and they were prepped. You know what they're going to say. And they always interview someone every week. And it's never the guy. The guy never says, oh, I'm just that much better than the defense. Like, they had nothing on me. You have to thank the people. I try to get away from that so the listener can be surprised and enjoy where they're going.
You're reminding me of my hilarious bit when we're at the bar watching sports on mute and the game's over. And I like to fill in the dialogue. So the lady's there on the field. And she's like, so how we feeling? He's like, well, at first we wasn't getting the ball in the hole so good, but then we started putting the ball in the hole a little better and we was getting a little happier. I got the ball in the hole the most out of everybody, so I'm the best, and I just keep going on with oversimplifying the sport. And then she's like, well, that's great. I'm glad you guys got the ball in the hole. Yeah, we're going to talk to some other people about getting the ball in the hole. We're going to get the ball in the hole next time. We're going to be in the playoffs getting the ball in the hole. It usually gets a pretty good laugh out of the people around me because, like you said, it's the same conversation.
And the big players, they're going to interview him on the field. They're going to interview him in the locker room, and they're going to interview him after the press conference.
Yeah.
Let the guy change. You're going to ask him the same questions anyway. Just let him change.
Yeah. They must have proven that when the thoughts are fresh, there's different thoughts than when they have time to stew over it.
Did you think that hit was dirty? Maybe I didn't see it. The rest let us play, and we play, and it's okay. I don't think it's personal. He's not going to say, yeah, that was really dirty. What they did was really dirty. And whenever someone does say that, it hits national sports news. It's big that someone called someone else out.
Right.
But now they have the old Twitter wars, which is what's going on, apparently, between offensive players and defensive players.
See, so now we don't need interviewers anymore.
Nope. It's making life better.
They can hash it out themselves. Literally.
Hashtag it out. Nice.
Did you want to get into the healthcare stuff?
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. Because I remember you showed more of a scientific interest in my kidney stones than anyone else. Not saying that you didn't have any compassion for me, but you were more along the lines of explain in detail how they took care of this, because I really want mine out. You were somewhat jealous that I had my appendix taken out. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm confusing the kidney stones and the appendix.
No, both of those things you covered very well on your timeline in a very entertaining and interesting way. And yeah, when I see 16, hope you're doing okay, buddies, I'm not going to add to that pile. And my thing is, I don't know if appendix is my most major concern, but I do feel like someday, and I have no reason to feel this except that I know a lot of people who have had kidney stones, and my dad has had kidney stones. So I'm feeling that the clock is ticking, and someday I'm going to have to pass a couple of kidney stones. Or hopefully, I guess that's the good news. When you pass it instead of need surgery, both of them sound miserable.
Yeah.
When I hear about it, I want all the information. If the doctor told you avoid this food from now on, or if the doctor told you you're going to get them again, expect them again in 5 years or whatever, I want to know that stuff because I want to know what to expect.
Yeah, I noticed whenever I had my appendix taken out that you showed more of a scientific interest into it. It was a bit refreshing because you're right. Every time someone says, hope you're doing better, hope you're doing better, hope you're doing better, it's nice, I guess, to hear. But then when someone throws a curveball along the lines of, oh, God, my appendix is a ticking time bomb,
yeah,
it lightens up the mood a little bit better. The appendix thing was very weird. It was a Friday, and I was in class down in Georgia, far away from my home, far away from my hospital. I woke up, and I wasn't feeling too good in the stomach, but it's something along the lines of, I might need to just go to the restroom or maybe eat something. Yeah. It was a very confusing stomach pain, but you felt like you could just easily fix it by letting your body do what it does.
Well, yeah, you said yesterday, what's the threshold where you decide, now I have to go to the doctor, the ER? And obviously what you're describing now, you weren't at that point yet.
No, not at all. And this was about 7 o'clock in the morning. You know, I had a coffee, I had some cereal. So I still feel kind of like upset in the stomach. So I brought another coffee. Sometimes it helps settle my stomach.
So you still had an appetite?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't thrilled about eating, but it was more of, I wasn't nauseous, but there was like kind of a cramp.
Okay.
So I figured I would eat, I would stretch out, I'd move around, get some water in me. I sat through class, and luckily Fridays they kind of pile up a whole bunch of stuff at the beginning of the week, and then Friday after lunch it's more of like a little cutout situation. They let us loose for lunch, and I'm still thinking, maybe I just gotta eat lunch now. We ate at a burger joint. It was about 2 hours later where I went into my hotel room, and I'm just kind of laying there, and I had a roommate who I didn't know very well, but I knew all right. I had visitors coming over, and it's 2 o'clock on a Friday, and people are wondering, why are you laying in bed? And saying you have a bellyache isn't the most manly thing in the world, but I don't know what else it is. And everyone's saying, well,
yeah, my tummy hurts.
Yeah. Why don't you go poop? You know what I mean? Like that's the response that you get, and it's not a bad suggestion, but I tried pooping, and nothing happened. So I'm kind of just stuck there. So it was about 4 o'clock. I look over to my roommate and go, I think it's time to go to the hospital. And he laughed. And then his face sort of dropped, and it was oh, you're serious.
Yeah.
So that was my threshold at that point. And I like the longevity of the pain and the severity of the pain, and that it was constantly increasing, was just in my head saying, you can't handle this on your own.
Yeah. Scary.
So, yeah. So I went to the doctors, and then they told me that they couldn't handle it. They didn't have the right equipment. So I went to the hospital. They admitted me. They ended up putting me on some type of pain medication and said, oh, by the way, in like 5 hours, you're going to have your appendix taken out. Oh, okay.
What equipment did the hospital have to reach that conclusion so quickly?
They had I believe, MRI machine.
You had to get an MRI done?
No, not an MRI. They had a CAT scan.
Okay.
Not too spun up on what was what, but they had to take pictures of my insides.
I feel like a good doctor can just push on your abdomen and kind of know what's the deal. That's what I would have thought. Or not know for sure. Yeah, I don't like that the doctor sent you to the hospital right away without even doing anything.
Well, I shouldn't say the doctor didn't do anything. I think what happened was I gave the symptoms, and they checked to see if it was a kidney stone.
Okay.
And the way they do that is through a urine test. And when they realized it wasn't a kidney stone, I think they kind of knew what they were up against, or that they knew that the scale of what they were up against was beyond what their office could handle. So I think that they triaged it well. But usually whenever you're talking about triage, you're the guy who's like sitting in the waiting room because you have a broken thumb. You're not the guy with a gunshot wound to the stomach.
Yeah.
So triage takes a different turn whenever you're like you hit second or third level. I was happy they finally gave me the pain medication. I was able to sleep, and whenever I slept, and I remember waking up when they were pushing me down there, I had signed some papers. And then I don't remember anything after signing the papers. And I remember waking up and actually being able to stand up and walk around and move around. I had 3 tiny little scars, and I went home a few hours after my surgery. It was amazing, actually.
Yeah. It's like you were way better off without it, and the surgery was very non-invasive, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's borderline, why doesn't everybody do this?
Yeah. Yeah, it could be like something that they do when they cut the umbilical, they take the appendix out. Take out the tonsils too while they're at it.
We offer the full service package. What we'll do is we'll remove the tonsils, move the appendix, the spleen, and then we'll just clean the undercarriage, and we're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
So why were you taking more of a scientific approach to my well-being as opposed to the sympathetic, which I'm not, like I said, I'm not offended that you weren't sympathetic because it was getting kind of annoying. But I used Facebook as Here are frequently asked questions because I didn't want to say, hey, I had my appendix taken out, and then open like 30 private messages with people asking me what happened and we care about you and, oh, I haven't seen you in 6 months, but I see something happen, so I want to connect. Like, so I just posted out, I'm doing fine, this is what happened, this was the timeline, this is how it went down, just so I could avoid all those questions.
Yeah, and then here comes Paulie still wanting details. But you know what? Don't mistake my lack of how you doing, buddy, or hope you feel better soon as not being sympathetic. I was very sympathetic, but well-wishing isn't going to improve anything. And maybe I was more in it for myself. Like, what's done is done with you. So now all you can do is teach. Like, that's almost your burden of responsibility now. And so I'm going to eat it up. And just like the reporter on the sports field after the game's over, I don't want to waste any time. I don't want you to miss a memory or an emotion.
Yeah, I was expecting, I get a private message coming through, and it's like, well, the whole reason I put these frequently asked questions up is so I kind of wouldn't get these.
Yeah.
But these weren't questions that I was covered. And you were talking about, man, aren't you just relieved that happened? Immediately I thought, well, no, Paul, I just had surgery. Why would I be relieved? And then it hit me. I never have to worry about this thing ever again.
Yeah, you can just live your whole life and not worry about the appendix ever getting, what was it, inflamed, impacted? What happens to it? I'm still not clear.
It was appendicitis, and in my paperwork it says appendicitis is pain that is caused by a puffy appendix.
Okay, so it was swollen.
I was led to believe that maybe I was just puffy all around, but my appendix was specifically puffy. Puffy enough past a certain threshold to cause a lot of pain. So you gave me a weird sense of relief. You and the Percocets gave me a weird sense of relief that, yeah, I'm like almost invincible now.
Yeah.
Because it came out of just nowhere.
It's like you got the timing belt replaced on your car, you know? You're good for another 60,000.
Yeah. It's not like this one's going to go bad. They're like, no, that was a part that just gums up the works anyway, which is exactly what I think it is.
Right. I couldn't come up with a car part that actually isn't necessary in any way and causes problems, so timing belt is what I went with.
There was two things that have happened ever since that, though. The first thing was immediate. It was immediate that on Monday we decided that we were going to go for burgers again because we kind of like this place, and we went. The sign was removed off the buildings. All the tables were gone. Like, the building was vacated within 2 days. Like I said, we went there Friday. Monday, it looks like it's been closed for months.
So you went to the restaurant Friday, and then you had the surgery Saturday?
Yes.
You went back to the same restaurant on Monday?
On Monday.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, my suspicion level was raised. Like, I knew I had symptoms before, but the fact that this fly-by-night apparently... But it wasn't fly-by-night, because they said, like, that restaurant's been there for years, and it just so happens that I ate there on the very last day, and then I had appendix surgery less than 12 hours later.
Right. I think that is disconcerting, that you needed surgery after going to a restaurant, and then the restaurant closed. Digestive system surgery, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, it wasn't like, when I had rotator cuff surgery. Like, it was something that was very, very correlated. But like I said, I had symptoms before that. It still made you feel a little uneasy. And then everyone else was kind of just looking at me like, do you think that caused it? No, I don't think that caused it. But the other thing that happened was a few months later, it was January 1st.
Happy New Year.
I had the surgery in August, and it was January 1st, and it was like 5 in the morning. And I nudged my wife awake. I said, we need to go to the hospital now. So we get all the stuff together. She takes me out there.
How long were you debating before 5 a.m. that whether you'd have to wake your wife up over this or not?
I woke up at 3.
Okay.
And I went to the bathroom, and then I realized I didn't get any relief. And I love talking about this now, but like, I went back to bed and I felt that same cramp that I felt with the appendix.
So that's what it feels like to have a kidney stone. You wake up, you take a leak, and you still have to go even after you're done.
Yeah, I mean, it is that weird body part where you're not sure if you need to go one or two. Like, it's just, there's an intense pressure, and it can move around, but there isn't a pressure. So I wake her up at 5. I was like, we need to go now, because I start getting nervous. I realize I can't have appendicitis again.
Yeah.
And if I did, that there's a medical issue going on here. And I also thought that maybe if the surgeon left his watch in there, like, I would have noticed it by now.
Yeah.
But the feeling of this could be really bad, this could be related, we need to go now. And it turns out I had my very first kidney stone.
How did they check for that? They did the urine test and that's it?
They did an ultrasound.
Okay.
And a urine test.
Okay.
So you never had a kidney stone before?
No. I've never had to go to the hospital for my organs like that.
Boy, are you missing out.
Yeah, I guess so. It's always something very surface related, or a headache or something.
Yeah. I mean, I've gone for headaches and everything like that, and there's a difference whenever you're going into the hospital knowing what the problem is. Like, I have a horrible migraine. Okay. That you know that you're only going there for the treatment. When you're going for the diagnosis, it's a lot more uncertainty, obviously, and it makes you really, really, because you start thinking about the worst that it could be. Mm-hmm. At least I do. So they tell me it's a kidney stone. They finally give me the good medicine. I take 2 days off of work. I'm at home, kind of in pain, but getting a lot better because of being able to manage it. And I don't ever feel like I pass it. Like, everyone's like, you'll know. And I just didn't know. I just started feeling better one day.
I know that when they check with the ultrasound, they have to check the diameter of them to see if they're passable. Isn't that part of the... Okay, so my question, I suppose, is, you said that they told you there was just one, and it was passable, and then they sent you on your way saying it's going to happen soon, and it took a while.
Well, yeah, they give you some pain medication, and they give you some medication to help you pee, to increase your flow when you pee. I drank a bunch of cranberry juice to help kind of progress all this along, and I never found anything. If it's over a certain size, what they'll do is they'll send in some type of ultrasonic waves that will end up crushing it up a bit. Mm-hmm. So mine was still small, but man, there's no relief when the doctor goes, "Oh, don't worry, it's just a small one." Like, you're just in horrible pain.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a competition, doctor, and don't make me feel like a jerk. Like, don't make me feel like I'm a baby because, it's just a small one and I'm hunched over in horrible pain. Like, I have a jagged rock in my pipes, my squishy, sensitive, nerve-filled pipes. I have a jagged rock, and you're going to tell me, "Oh, don't worry, it's not that bad." Like, no. Say, it's horrible, but it's passable.
I have a question, evolution-wise. What is the purpose of us having... Until 50 years ago, we wouldn't be able to do anything about a kidney stone except wait it out or die. And so it's like, what is the evolutionary reason for us to have feelings in there just so we could be miserable before we either A, die, or B, pass it?
I mean, I think that the nerves being in there are a good thing because I'm sure that there are other urinary tract problems, such as infections, that can be treated. The stone is just one of those things like, well, sorry, yep, you get all the pain, and like, that's all you get from having a kidney stone is a lot of people sympathize from you, and then you pay a copay.
So let me ask you this. When you have a kidney stone and it's causing you pain, you still can pee, but you're just peeing around it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like at one point it's in the kidneys, then it goes into the bladder. When it goes into the bladder, you don't feel it nearly as bad.
Okay.
And then when you pass it, you feel it coming out the drain.
Yeah. Does the bladder break it up more because it's like sitting in the urine and stuff? Does it being in the bladder make it break up further or smooth it out or anything at all?
I think it's along the lines of you went from the pipes into the tank.
Oh.
So the tank is a little larger.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It's not so bad.
Man.
But yeah. Then 18 months later, I get my second kidney stone. So now I'm wondering if my appendix has anything to do with kidney stones. And I feel like science would have at least given us kind of a heads up, because everyone just says, no, the appendix is just kind of worthless. We don't need it anymore.
Right.
But I'm getting stones now that I lost my appendix. That one I didn't feel passing either. But I knew exactly what it was. Like, when I woke up, I'm like, I'm in a little bit of pain. We need to go to the hospital now, because it's just going to get worse. And then they had me sitting in the hospital for like 3 or 4 hours before they ever even got me any medication, so it just got just worse. So that one was really bad too. Eventually they gave me morphine and they said, all right, you should be good. And then she left, and a few minutes later I'm like sweating, and they gave me morphine again. And a few minutes later I'm still sweating, and I go, I feel numb everywhere except for where the pain is. And then the nurse goes, yeah, quite often morphine doesn't help with kidney stones.
I thought morphine helps with everything. That's news to me,
giving
man.
It to me. Yeah, that's what I was like. Like, we're giving you morphine, and I'm like, oh, that's the end all. That's the answer. Like, it doesn't matter what you got. Morphine's good, and that's apparently morphine's arch nemesis is kidney stones, and why they would decide to just. I don't know if it's cheaper than what they gave. Eventually, they gave me something that worked. I don't know if morphine's just cheaper than that thing or what.
What do you need? Like a muscle relaxer, maybe?
It had to have been some type of narcotic that they gave me.
Okay.
My hands were numb, my face felt so heavy, my legs couldn't move, but my kidney stone was in horrible pain. It's like, basically you just paralyzed me so I could just sit here and feel my pain.
Yeah. Dude, that's terrible.
So now that I know, well, I don't have to worry about my appendix anymore, but now I know what a kidney stone feels like. I know when it's just time to go to the hospital. Like at the first sign, I know when it's time to go to the hospital. When do you go to the hospital?
Well, there have been times where I had been in a lot of pain, but I usually wait until it goes away. That's usually my move. So I suppose if it interferes with my sleeping and my eating for any longer than a day, I'm going to consider seeing a doctor about it. But I really do make that a last resort. I don't even take a Tums. A lot of times I'll be like, well, you know what, I'm just going to use this as a indicator to avoid that food or to slow down on the drinks or whatever it is. I try not to just be like, all right, well, I'll just pop a Tums and make up for all the things I do. Like, I really try to let my body speak to me.
I love Tums. I love Tums, and I take handfuls of ibuprofen. Like, I lived with somebody who would not take aspirin if they had a headache, and that confused me. I've taken ibuprofen if I think I'm going to get a headache.
Wow. Aspirin's the one, huh? I take Excedrin.
I used to take Excedrin, but it had the caffeine, and I believed I was getting addicted to the caffeine in the Excedrin.
Oh. But don't you drink coffee?
My family suffers from migraines, so we get... coffee is a every once in a while thing.
Okay.
But with the headaches that I was getting, I think at some point it was because I was taking too much caffeine, and then some days I just didn't feel like having any caffeine, and I would get a migraine.
Yeah.
The Excedrin was just more along the lines of checking that box for that addiction, and then the next day it would just happen again. So I didn't find it to be useful. But I know for a lot of people it is the perfect thing to take care of their stuff, and I'm glad they found something. But now I will drink a coffee if I feel like I'm getting a headache. I'll go out and I'll get a coffee, and sometimes that actually even works right there.
Oh, yeah.
Which I know that's just an addiction thing.
I've been swearing by Excedrin for a good decade now, because it really does help me within 15-20 minutes if I feel something coming on, or if I wake up even just with a hangover, even if it's self-induced. But somebody didn't have Excedrin. I was at a girl's house. Turns out Midol is the same thing. It's Tylenol, which is acetaminophen, and then there's like caffeine, and I think Midol has like one extra thing, like a diuretic or something, like 5 milligrams of one other thing.
Which isn't a bad thing. Hey, every time you need to pee a little bit.
Yeah, period pills and Excedrin are the same thing. They're just remarketing it so that men aren't ashamed to take it.
God, I tell you what, I should totally do that for my kidney stones. A diuretic, some caffeine, and some pain reliever. That sounds perfect.
Midol.
That's the key. That's the key, gentlemen. Midol.
Midol made a mistake marketing themselves to just women ovulating.
You know what? You say that, but I think that's also along the lines of tools for her, targeting women to buy a thing that's already out there by saying this is for that time of the month. It's like, no, I could take Excedrin.
Right.
But this is just aimed specifically at me. So now I will buy Excedrin and that.
Oh, okay.
I think it's genius. I think that's marketing genius right there.
Okay. Well, I'm just wondering if a lot more Midol would be purchased if it didn't have that stigma.
I wonder if the Midol is essentially taking an Excedrin with like an iced tea.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like taking Tylenol with an iced tea, because the iced tea has both the caffeine and the diuretic.
Oh, yeah. Paul, I think we're onto something.
So just a regular Tylenol and an iced tea, and you have all the ingredients.
Ladies, stop complaining about your period. Just drink some iced tea
Take notes.
and take some aspirin. You'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
We're saving you money here. You can go to the dollar store and get all this stuff.
To bring it back to the two original topics, you got your appendix out, and then after that, within 18 months, you got 2 kidney stones, and you felt them go from the kidney to the bladder, but you never felt them pass out the drain, as you so eloquently put it.
Yeah, correct. By the way, I'm going to let you know, I'm feeling super exposed right now. Like, if this ever reaches the light of day, and I know our wives will probably listen to this, like, they're both thinking that we are having a 45-minute discussion about the painful times when I pee. This is what this is going to wrap up to be. Like, so I'm going to apologize to them and to anyone else who may ever hear this. This is what we felt like was the perfect topic.
I think you got to be crazy to not want insight on these things. Now, my scientific approach or medical approach, or however you want to put it, was not from a lack of sympathy, just from a like, okay, I'm going to take Z's pain and I'm going to use it to benefit myself. And why wouldn't you be happy to do that? And I feel like that's what laying this recording down is, a slight education on your experience of these medical things that are common. This is not like some crazy story that you're trying to impress people. This is something that can happen to anybody. You can wake up in the middle of the night, have a normal life, and then all of a sudden this is part of your life. And so you got to be crazy not to want this information.
You're taking me from victim to hero right now, and I really do appreciate it.
You're my hero, Z.
It's hard opening up, I guess. No, like I think that's the problem. Is it's not hard for me to open up. Like I have to remind myself, stop saying peeing and pooping. Like it's natural, but I just so vulnerable. I don't know.
It's all right. It's all right, Larry David.
I was trying to, because my brother had kidney stones, but I never experienced it, and until you do, it's just a weird situation. So if my suffering can lead to somebody going to the hospital an hour earlier, you will thank me, because that hour of pain is so long.
Yeah.
And before you go, you're like, oh, I can push through this. It's like, no, it's only going to get worse. And I've never been to an ER where I walked in and I'm like, I'm in a lot of pain. They're like, oh, sir, you're in pain? Oh, come with us right now. We'll take care of that pain. Like, no, that's a process. It's going to be a while. So you got to get in whenever it's a kidney stone. But you're right. If you've never had them, you have no idea.
I'm taking that advice right to the bank, buddy. Right to the bank.
You got it. Do you save medication?
Do I save? Yes. I never throw away my stuff. If I don't use it all, I'm hoping that it might come in handy later.
I have a fear now, though, because I saved one pill from whenever I had my last kidney stone. Like, I was actually still in a little bit of pain, but I'm saving this one pill. And that pill is in my cabinet, and it has in big black letters, kidney stone, on there. So if I feel this again, I'm going to take that, and then I'm going to go to the doctor's. But I wonder if that's going to hurt my chances of getting, I don't want to say sympathy, but like if I'm not in as much pain, if they're going to be like, yeah, you have a kidney stone, but you seem to be just fine. So we're going to kind of like not worry about it right now. Like, we'll get to you, but you're kind of lower on the list right now.
Well, I think that their concern would be, sir, did you take something? And you say yes, and then they say, okay, well now we can't just give you whatever, because now we have to wonder how much of that you took, how long ago you took it, and if it interacts with the other things that we were thinking about giving you. That would be the concern. But, I mean, for your own comfort, I mean, I don't know how far you are from the hospital. You make it sound like you're in the middle of nowhere sometimes, so I don't know.
No, we have a hospital, and it has electricity and everything. I mean, I would have no problem just bringing the ball. Like, and I am not an aggressive person. I am not a... I've been waiting here for 15 minutes and I have not been seen. Who do I need to talk to? I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
But I have no problem whenever I'm in this amount of pain being like, did you take anything? And me just tossing them the now empty bottle. I said, I took one of those because last time it took you guys like 3 hours to even do anything for me. And when you did something, you specifically gave me something that probably wouldn't work. So, like, I don't know if my honesty is going to be taken as a problem, or it would at least give them the information they need. But man, I'm not going through that again. I'm not, and I feel, I don't know why I feel like it's going to be 18 months. I think it's just because it was a nice round number. But like I feel like I'm due what, next January, I think.
Did they give you the doctors any lifestyle changes or any recommendations of like, hey, listen, if you hated that kidney stone, here's what you need to try to do or not do?
I didn't even get a little mesh net that some guys get for when they have to pee into that so they can catch the kidney stone so it can get analyzed. Yeah, I didn't even get one of those. All you get is other people suggesting, well, you shouldn't drink so much iced tea. Mm-hmm. How come you can drink a whole bunch of iced tea and I can't? Like, that's not fair. I don't know if I want to talk about being fair, but yeah, okay, Mr. Non-Kidney Stone, don't tell me, preaching from your little tower there, how great it is, and that I'm irresponsible because I'm drinking iced tea. I'm drinking iced tea. I'm not doing drugs. I'm not doing heroin. Like, I'm drinking iced tea, and you're going to be all shitty to me. And well, you drink all that iced tea, you shouldn't complain about kidney stones. No! I had 2 kidney stones in my 30 years of existence. I've been drinking iced tea for, I'm going to guess, 27 of them. Yeah. Like, don't get mad at me. Don't be a jerk. I'm in pain. Feel bad for me.
Are they saying it's like the real tea? That, I mean, all right, I have like a 3-pronged question here.
Okay.
Iced tea is a wide range of products. You can buy brown sugar in a cylinder and put 4 scoops, and that's iced tea. Or you can actually make iced tea and then like with tea leaves. Or you could have like a Crystal Light, which isn't sugar, but it's like something else. So okay, so when they say iced tea, they're just giving you a broad stroke of iced tea. But to me, that's a wide definition of beverages.
Well, I don't think that they really even care if what they're saying is accurate. They just have seen me drink an iced tea and they just immediately link that to kidney stones. So I don't even know if that is a common thing. The doctors have never said anything to me, but I'm not in the conspiracy of that. I don't believe in the conspiracy that they're just, yes, he's going to drink more iced tea.
But it's calcium, right? The stone.
Yeah, that is correct, and to me that could be the Tums that I'm taking religiously because they taste pretty good, and I get acid reflux at night because I drink iced tea. Oh, wait a minute.
What?
I drink the iced tea, I get the heartburn. I eat the Tums, I get the kidney stone.
So you're making kidney stones with Tums.
Figured it out.
And iced tea.
Yep, because the iced tea. It's all cause and effect.
You know, your presentation was excellent. You said, I'll let you say it, but it was something like all my organs got together and said, "Hey, little buddy, here's a gift for you." How did it go? It was so good.
So whenever your kidney's like, "Hey, I made this for you," and all the other organs is like, "But that's a bad idea. Like, no one wants that." But I made it. It's fine. Here you go.
And then you said like, and then you grunted. You're like, "Me grunt. Thanks, little buddy."
I made you this. Oh, thanks, little buddy. and like, at least when my appendix was acting up, I just got rid of him.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna get rid. I'm not gonna like. I can't scold my kidney, but it's just gonna be sitting there just making stones.
Making stones out of Tums and iced tea.
Eating Tums. Yeah. I'm giving it basically all the tools it needs, and it's just picked up a hobby. I'm going to make little jagged stones, and then I'm just going to throw them down that pipe.
See, there's so much to learn. See, just this conversation alone, and you've already come up with a couple of revelations, and I know nothing. I had nothing to add. All I did was extract it.
You were the interviewer this time. Like I said, I don't know. You had a weird position of power, and I was the one feeling vulnerable.
I'll tell you what happens in the hospital, too. I feel embarrassed when I go to the hospital too, because I'm like, oh, my finger hurts, or whatever stupid, pathetic thing that I couldn't man up and deal with on my own. But doctors are at the point where they're just happy if you come in there and actually have something to treat, even if it's minor. Because I guess they're just having a whole slew of people coming in with hypochondriac type issues that don't really have anything that they can do for them. And then those are the people that complain and say, "What do you mean you don't have anything you can do for me? What do you mean you're sending me home? I'm suffering or whatever." And so when you actually even have just the most minor thing, like a mosquito bite even that's swollen, the doctor's going to be like, "Thank God, at least it's a real problem and something that requires attention," as opposed to they don't care about the wimpiness, is I guess the summary of what I'm saying.
I think that there's a weird culture here where you go to the hospital whenever you have a problem, because that's why hospitals are there. Like, if your body is doing something that is stupid, then you should go get that looked at. But I will say about 90% of the time, it's going to be, here's some aspirin, or here's some medication that'll make it better, but not really fix the problem, because the problem is just going to fix itself. When I finally just suck up the pride and just go to the hospital, the second I walk in the door, I hope that there's something wrong with me that I couldn't have handled on my own.
Right.
I need that weird justification of when the nurse or the doctor comes in and goes, "Okay, you had a thing," and I almost want them to congratulate me, being like, "Good job, you used the hospital correctly. You did good. You should be proud of yourself."
And then they can feel happy that they were there to treat you and save you, and they can feel like their lives are worth something too. Then everybody wins.
But I don't go to the doctor as much as I go to the ER, so that makes me feel like maybe I'm using that wrong. But, I mean, do you have a family care doctor?
I have not visited a family care doctor. When we were in Kansas, I did. He was in our hometown. I didn't have to go on base. And I saw a guy regularly for whatever it was. It was always, he knew my medical history, let's say. But since we moved here, the only doctor's appointments have been for the kids. I did go to the ER. I had a problem on January 1st, too. I was having a problem New Year's Eve, and I tried to muscle it out. I was having trouble breathing. I could not take a full breath in.
Ooh.
So I always felt short of breath. My chest, it felt heavy. And I was like, well, that's weird.
Ooh.
Yeah. And when you start Googling stuff about that, you see, like, ER right away. And
yep.
I was like, yeah, but, like, I don't have a history of anything. Let me just give it a little time. And, like...
Neither did the guy who died of a heart attack.
And, it did not go away. It got worse. And I said, oh, boy. And I didn't want to tell everybody, but I texted a couple people, like, I'm going to the ER. I have shortness of breath. I don't know what's going on. Long story short, they told me I had the flu. And I was like, is that a typical... They kept asking me, do you have you been coughing? Do you have a sore throat? Have you been sneezing? Do you have a temperature? I'm like, no. I've been good, and I just have this shortness of breath thing. And the problem was I couldn't sleep because it was worse when I laid down. So I had to sit and lean back against my headboard and be short of breath. And so I couldn't get any rest. It was miserable. Mm-hmm. And when they told me I had the flu, it was impossible for me to get any rest in that position.
You can pay people to fix that, so why are you just going to sit there and be miserable? Yeah, that's exactly what doctors are for.
Yeah.
I'm slightly uncomfortable, / I could be dying right now, so the ball's in your court.
They gave me chest x-ray. They put all the things on my chest to make sure, EKG, I think it is. Yeah, they said my heart was fine, and I was like, all right, that's great, but I still can't breathe good or relax. And they said, you have the flu. You have like an upper respiratory infection in your lung. And the next day, I was fine. It took me a long time to get to sleep. I was whining, and it took me, and it was New Year's Day, so it was kind of depressing. Yeah, I just laid about for 3 hours, finally fell asleep, and when I woke up, I was much better. And I was like, that was the weirdest flu I ever had. I guess any kind of bacterial infection, they're just going to call it the flu, but that was uncharacteristic of any other flu I've ever had. And I was embarrassed to go to the ER for a flu, but Google is not your friend when you have pain.
I was going to ask, did you feel that justification?
No.
Like, you went for what I'm going to say.
Yeah. I did not
reason.
feel that justification. I felt silly that knowing that they didn't give me anything. Once they saw my heart was fine, they just kept me waiting around I was just like, now I just want to go home. Once I knew my heart was fine, and once they knew my heart was fine, I was wasting my time.
Obviously, it was a relief to know that your heart was fine, but do you, feel even extra better? Everyone thinks that their heart's fine, but you actually just went in there and they checked it out, and you got verification that, yeah, I got a good heart. Does that make you feel better or not?
I don't mean to sound cocky, but I always kind of figured I had a good heart. That's why I didn't go in there when I first had problems. I was like, I'm fairly healthy. We don't have heart trouble in our family. I don't see why this isn't going to go away on its own. So when they told me my heart was fine, I was like, yeah, I know my heart's fine, so why can't I breathe?
My heart's fine. Why can't I breathe? It's like, well, you know those two organs aren't exactly the same, right?
I'm sorry. You're right. But no, that was based on Google, I believe. That was based on me Googling shortness of breath and chest heaviness or something. And then I was like, okay, that's I think why you're right. Breathing is your lungs, absolutely. So that would be a silly conclusion to draw.
Yeah, you go from I kind of have a problem in my shoulder to I may have irreversible flesh-eating bacteria. No, you threw a football for 2 minutes and you threw it wrong. Like that's what that pain is. You're not dying. Have you tried the MedExpress? Or the dog in a box situation, if I don't know if there's more than one kind. Have you tried those yet?
No. What you mean on the internet?
No. Maybe you don't have them out there. They are in a shopping center or something. It is no appointment needed. Just walk right in and a doctor will see you.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
They are wonderful.
Like at CVS?
It's more along the lines of a specialized... When you go there, you're going there to see it. Like, it's a doctor's office, but you don't have a specific doctor. You can see a random one at any given moment. But whenever you have a cold or something, you know, you can call your doctor and be like, okay, well, I'll see you in like 4 or 5 days. And you're like, well, that doesn't do me any good. Mm-hmm. These are just, you know, I don't feel good. This place opens at 8. I'm going to walk in. They are wonderful.
No, I didn't know about that.
It's kind of like the Uber thing where there was a need... And the one thing that was taking care of that need felt like it was invincible, and then this competitor came up and just completely changed the game. I believe that family doctors are going to have a harder time fighting because they're not getting people anymore because they were unable to take care of the problems that actual people had because of appointment.
That is more beneficial for people like us who don't need a medical history to be diagnosed. It's not like you need to become familiar with one person. You need to have a whole bunch of paperwork to be looked at. Just see me as a fresh face. Here's my current thing. I'm not on any medications. I don't have any family history of any of this. Please diagnose me quickly.
I have a sore throat. Tell me if it's strep or not.
Yeah.
Do you get the flu shot?
Not yet. I was just talking with Michelle. I was saying I'm down. Last year I took Andre, and the lady who gave him his flu shot immediately was like, you should get it too, otherwise it's not even as useful for him to have it if not everybody in the whole household gets it. And I was like, okay, I'll get it too. So she kind of pushed it on me. So this year I wasn't planning on taking him, but if I do, I'm sure that they'll do that again.
Before I start this, I want to let you know, I do not believe the flu shot gets you sick.
No, that's not how it works. I mean, that's not how I was taught it works at all.
There's a lot of people who believe that, so I just want to say that right now. I'm not one of those people, but it always seems to me that if I go to an area that's giving me a flu shot, most likely it's a clinic or a pharmacy or something that involves me waiting around in a room with other people for about 5 or 10 minutes, I will get sick from them. Uh-huh. I will go get a flu shot and get laryngitis. I will go and get strep throat because the little kid decided to cough on me while I was waiting to get my flu shot.
Yeah.
I almost weigh getting a flu shot because I don't want to get sick from the other 70 things that are highly contagious that I'm going to be hanging out with while waiting to get the flu shot.
It would almost be nice if they could send you that flu mist in an envelope, and then you could administer it to yourself at home.
Yeah, I mean, you paid for it. It's on you. If you do it wrong, I mean, we're giving you instructions. Sniff this liquid and push this plunger. It's not that difficult.
Now, Michelle says she doesn't go for the mist. She doesn't like it. She likes the shot.
I prefer the shot.
I don't care.
I think it's because they say don't blow your nose for 15 minutes. That's like telling me not to push the red button or don't scratch an itch. Like, that's just going to make it so much worse. Like, for 15 minutes, I'm going to need to sneeze so bad.
Yeah.
And then after that, I won't need to.
Isn't that the worst?
It is terrible.
We got to touch on that another time. That don't scratch an itch, and then that becomes all you want to do. I always think about that when somebody gets, strapped down or gets a straitjacket put on them in a movie or something. And I'm like, God, I know it's got to be the last thing on their mind, but all I'd be thinking about is, how many itches am I going to get, and how much torture is it going to be?
I don't care that I'm in a position to where I'm actually need to be in a straitjacket. I care about my nose right now.
Right. That takes a back seat. Frustratingly, it happens to me when I'm in bed, trying to fall asleep with my wife. She's ready for bed more than I am 9 times out of 10 because she works all day and she wakes up earlier than I do. And I'm just trying to relax with her and reach her level. And it's just every 10 seconds there's a disturbance. I got a scratch on my nose or a scratch on my thigh. And eventually I'm like, I'm sorry, baby. I got to go. I'm just going to keep disturbing you for the next hour if I don't get out of here. This is the view of the medical system through the eyes of young men who don't have that much of a need or a dependency on the medical system. We're trying to let nature take its course.
The voice of the healthy white male.
Yes.
I'm glad that finally.
You know what? I don't know if our race is important to the discussion, but
the voice of the healthy young male.
Nonetheless, yes, the healthy young male doesn't want to go to the doctor for no reason and wants to think that their body can take care of most, if not all things, except cancer. It's like, well, as long as I don't have cancer, then I could probably just sleep it off, have some juice. I think that we're just learning, or at least I was looking to learn. You've had things that would have killed you, I suppose. Well, maybe not the kidney stones.
No, the kidney stones I don't think would have. I mean, that was I was going to bring up. The kidney stones, that's another thing. The body would have just taken care of that. Like, the body caused it, and the body would have just taken care of that. You'd have been in so much pain. Like, it's just so much pain.
What if you had the ones that were too big, though? The ones that were too big to pass. Do those kill you? If you don't get if you don't get them broken up?
I haven't done the research, but I don't know if anyone has ever died from a kidney stone.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure that it could cause more damage. Like, I'm sure that if it's bigger than the pipes, then it just kind of messes up the pipes a whole bunch, and I don't think you want your pipes messed up.
Ugh. See, one thing you clarified for me was originally I thought that if you had kidney stones, it blocked your ability to pee. And, like, so you just had to pee really bad, but there was a stone in the way. And I was like, that sounds horrible. But now you set me straight on that misunderstanding.
They give you this medication, and just the volume of pee that you just have, it is just unbelievable. Like, I didn't realize. That sounds like you're pouring a gallon of water down a drain.
Wow. So it's pressure, too. It's not just volume, but pressure.
Yeah. Now, the appendix, I believe that it can get into a hyper puffy state, and that could actually kill you. I think if it overpuffs its limitations, it can rupture.
Yes.
So that was something I was very glad that I went for. But, I mean, I was also glad for the kidney stones, but I was very glad that I got the appendix taken care of because it was bad. That could kill me.
Oh, and I believe that when I saw that you had gotten your appendix removed, that might have been my first scientific question was, did it rupture or not?
Yes, and it did not.
That's what happens. From what I understand, that's what happens with a lot of guys is they think it's just some kind of stomach bug or food poisoning or something that they try to sleep off. And then what these guys find out 2 days down the road is that they had an appendix thing and it ruptured, and now it's even more of an emergency. And more, so you actually were good to...
Yeah, because now all that stuff is floating in your system, and you get septic.
Yeah, it's pus basically, right? I mean, it's an infection.
Yeah, it's puffy. I mean, this is just straight up medical paperwork. It's puffy, and it can get over puffied. So, go to the hospital. You know what? You're not feeling well. Go to the hospital. That's what they're for.
All right. It's not a macho thing. Just make sure you have something to treat, or they will roll their eyes at you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't go to the hospital unless it's something really important, or you're pathetic.
Yeah, I don't think you have to tell men that. Men are gonna avoid going. I think until they can't.
Yeah. Remember, if you go to the hospital and they say that it's nothing, they're wrong, and you just complain, and then you just say, "Screw it, I'll just get better by myself." Like that's the way that works.
This was good though. You want to stop here?
Yeah. You want to end the recording?
Yeah.